Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Wednesday, March 25th. If you were just tuning in, we just finished going over the Eastern divisions, the AL and NL East here, as the MLB season in America first pitch is tomorrow. In this segment, we turn our attention to the Central Division. Same thing. We're going to break down 1 through 5, the AL and NL Central, coming up in a second. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Wednesday, March 26th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into a little bit on the Central divisions in the MLB. If you're just tuning in, we just went over the Eastern divisions. We're going to start off in the NL Central here. And start off at number 5 here. It's going to be the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals come into this year over-under at a respectable 76.5 games, but I think the Cardinals completely collapsed this year. This is a Cardinals team that got older and did not do anything at all this offseason. We want to talk about additions. Their one and only free agent addition, at least on the major league side of things, was to bring in 32-year-old Phil Maton to the bullpen. A 1-year contract, and that happened just about 2 weeks ago. 13 days ago, Phil Maton was signed to a 1-year contract. That's the only major league move that they have made all offseason long. The St. Louis Cardinals have sat here, twiddled their thumbs, and done nothing. They acquired a utility guy in Michael Hellman from the Twins for cash. That's the only other thing they've done. There's been a couple minor league moves, but at the end of the day, they have done next to nothing to increase this roster, a roster that has now lost one of their top hitters, a guy that won MVP a couple years ago in Paul Goldschmidt, a top relief pitcher in Andrew Kittredge, Matt Carpenter, an aging veteran for this team, also gone, as well as losing Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, in a whole league of other guys. This is just a mess of a team. And this team, sure, it's got a couple pieces. It's still got, one of the best third basemen in the game when we're talking defensively in Nolan Arenado, but he's 33 years old, and there's been rumors of him getting traded. Wilson Contreras has moved to first base from catcher. I mean, sure, that's fine, but I'm not sure he's a guy, how much that's going to help defensively. And that's what a lot of the Cardinals teams were built on in the past. Lars Nootbaar leading off, he will be just fine. And I like that Jordan Walker is going to get a real chance for the first time ever, but he's been moved up and down so many times. I don't even know what's real for him right now. There just isn't a lot to like on this Cardinals team, especially when we go down to this pitching staff. Sonny Gray, Eric Fetty, Miles Mikolas, Matthew Liberate. These are not the guys that you want heading into the year. And there hasn't even been too many injuries. Right now you just have one relief pitcher on injured list, and that is Zach Thompson. But the bullpen doesn't even look that great either. You've got Ryan Helsley, solid to be your closer. Then you've got JoJo Romero, Ryan Fernandez, Phil Maton. None of these guys really strike me as elite, as like a huge difference maker for this squad, and because of that, I think we see the implosion of the St. Louis Cardinals. I think they lose 100 games this year, 5th place in the division. Number 4, we've got the Pittsburgh Pirates. Paul Skeens' takeover is here. He is about to go out and have an amazing year, but the Pirates, they didn't get much better. They made a lot of moves, don't get me wrong, but they were a lot of lateral moves. They didn't go out and make any earth-shattering moves that I think is really going to change a lot of things. The lineup just doesn't really inspire me. Because of that, despite how good the pitching is going to be, despite having one of the best duos in the league, pitching duos in Paul Skeens and Mitch Keller, it's just not enough behind them. and I think this team is destined to be below what they're expected. Fourth place in their division, 74 and 88. At number 3, I've got the Brewers. The Brewers are projected to win 83 games this year. They won their division last year, and the Brewers always seem to find a way to be competitive, but I just don't really see the vision with this year's Brewers team. And maybe that's just because I'm not as tapped in to the Brewers as I should be, but the Brewers are a team that needs some big bats, right? They've still got Christian Yelich, but he hasn't really been the same since coming back from injuries. Jackson Churio had a pretty solid season. William Contreras, a catcher, solid. You've got, but outside of those guys, Garrett Mitchell, Rhys Hoskins, Joey Ortiz, Sal Frelick. This isn't a lineup that jumps out to you on paper and is really going to be super scary, right? You've got a rotation, usually the strength of this team, that actually, according to Fangraphs, only goes 4 deep right now. Freddie Peralta, Nestor Cortez, Aaron Savali, and Tyler Alexander. That is not good enough, right? Trevor McGill as your closer, when you're going from Hader to Devin Williams to Trevor McGill, there's going to be a little bit of a fall off there. This is just not the way you wanted it to go. You're dealing with a lot of injuries. Aaron Ashby, Brendan Woodruff should be back soon, hopefully. But this is just not a team that I think is built to succeed this season. I think this is the year that we see a Brewers collapse, and a collapse for them is just 500. I've got them going 500, finishing third in their division. I've got the Cubs second in this NL Central, going 83 and 79. Over-under for them was set at 85 and a half games. The Chicago Cubs, I've liked the moves they've made, actually. Pitching staff kind of gets really thin. You've got Shota Imanaga, but outside of him, once you get down past him, there isn't really a lot of guys that I really love. Justin Steele already got absolutely destroyed. Matthew Boyd, Ben Brown, Jameson Tyone, none of these guys really step up or shout to me that they're going to be able to carry this team to where it needs to be. We've seen them lose 2 games already, granted to the Dodgers in Japan, but still, I'd like to see a little bit more out of this team, especially offensively, where they were barely able to muster anything. I need to see more. I just don't trust the pitching again, and I've got them going 83-79, second place in that division, which means the Cincinnati Reds finally put it all together, and I think they get this division. It's been a little while coming now. They've got a lot of really young talent I expect to be healthy. Matt McClain's going to be back. That's going to be huge. Spencer Steer, Heimer Candelario's still there. Of course, you still have Ellie De La Cruz, electric everywhere he goes. This is a team that is filled with young talent, especially if they can stay healthy. The pitchers. You already had Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo, but you trade for Brady Singer. I love that move. You have got Nick Martinez and Carson Spears. These are solid moves. Now, the bullpen, that's a mess. Right now, if you look at where it's listed, Fangraphs has 5 catchers. Five closers listed for them. Emilio Pagan, Taylor Rogers, Tony Santillan, Scott Barlow, and Graham Ashcraft, all listed as closers for this team. So the bullpen's going to be something that they need to figure out. But I do really like this team. They're dealing with some injuries again, but as long as they can stay healthy, which they've struggled to do, especially with the pitching staff in the last couple years, I expect them to win this division at a respectable 86 and 76. Reds 1, Cubs 2, Brewers 3, Pirates 4, Cardinals 5. On to the AL Central. The White Sox at the bottom yet again. There is a league of difference between this White Sox team and everybody else in this division. The White Sox lost a league record, an MLB record, 121 games last season. And while I think they'll be better this season because it's real tough to set that infamous record 2 years in a row, I'm not convinced they're going to be that much better. This is a White Sox team that I think will be fighting with themselves for that record again. Right now, you're looking at a lineup consisting of Miguel Vargas, Luis Robert Jr. Outside of him, you've got really nothing. Andrew Benintendi, Andrew Vaughn, Lennon Sosa, Travis Jankowski, Michael A. Taylor, Brooks Baldwin, and Corey Lee, with a bench consisted of Matt Tice, Jacob Amaya, Nick Matan, and Austin Slater. None of these guys are really going to be that great. Your pitching rotation, one that had a couple of solid guys last season despite their results. Now it's headlined by Sean Burke, Jonathan Cannon, Davis Martin, Martin Perez, and Shane Smith. This team is going to get absolutely blown up. The bullpen is the same as the starting pitching. It's just not here right now. This is a mess. I think this team will find a way to win more games than they did last season, but it's not going to be by a lot. I think the White Sox win just 43 games, finish 43 and 119, last place in the league, last place in the Central. I think the Tigers, a team that made the playoffs last year, finished fourth. I like this Tigers team a lot. I think this is a Tigers team that can be very dangerous, but we kind of saw the issue with them last season. They don't have that starting pitching depth. Showed up in the playoffs, even though they were able to win a game. They get back pitcher that they traded away, but I just don't really see how that matters all that much, right? Jack Flaherty's great. Tariq Skubal is the AL reigning Cy Young winner. Reese Olson is solid. Outside of them, you bring in Jackson Jobe. I'm excited to see what he can do, but I don't know. I'm not super sold on this team again. They've got a couple issues. You're relying on Spencer Torkelson. It's his real last chance. And the guys that they brought in on offense, Gleyber Torres, Manuel Margot, none of these guys really scream a huge upgrade. They took a very hot run into the playoffs last year. I'm just not convinced they're going to be able to do it again. 80 and 82 for the Tigers this year. I think the Guardians made a lot of mistakes this offseason. 83 and 79 for them, and third place in this division is what I expect out of them this year. They've still got a lot of solid pieces, but they traded away a couple guys that they did not quite replace. The Cleveland Guardians still have Steven Kwan. They still have Jose Ramirez. They bring back Carlos Santana. They still have Lane Thomas, but they moved off of Naylor, right? They traded Naylor away. That is a tough loss. They don't really have a guy to come in and replace him other than 40-year-old Carlos Santana, right? You're playing Lane Thomas in center field. I don't like that. I like Lane Thomas as a corner outfielder, not really as your starting center fielder. You trade away a really good second baseman, one of the best, especially defensively, in Jimenez, for Gabriel Reyes to step up and play that role. I just don't like that either. I don't love the way that they've moved around this offseason, and that rotation just doesn't inspire confidence in me, especially when you're dealing without John Means and Shane Bieber, Slade Cassioni, all coming in. I'm not a big fan of this, and because of that, I've got the Guardians finishing third place in their division. Getting to second, we've got the Kansas City Royals. The Kansas City Royals are a very similar offseason to the Reds. The Royals had flush talent at pitching. They kind of struggled a little bit in the hitting side. They still had one of the best players in Bobby Witt Jr., but they need a little more help. They trade Jonathan India for Brady Singer, but that's fine because they still have Cole Reagans. They still have Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha, Chris Bubich, and Michael Lorenzen. This is a very, very good team. They've also got Kyle Wright, who's injured right now. But this is a team that doesn't necessarily need that. I love the addition of Carlos Estevez from the Phillies. They pair him up with Lucas Urseg. That's going to be one of the deadliest 1-2 punches in all of baseball at that back end of that bullpen. And of course, you've still got Bobby Witt. You've still got Salvi Perez. You've still got a lot of solid bats. I really do love what they've done adding in Jonathan India. I think this is a team that is going to continue with what they did last season. I actually think they have the exact same record as last season at 86 and 76 and second place in their division. And at number one, that leaves the Twins. Now, this is, of course, very much dependent on them being healthy, which is something that you don't want to put all your chips into here. We're already dealing with some injuries to one of their best pieces, right? They still need Royce Lewis. He is incredible when he's healthy, but he's already strained his hamstring. That was a couple days ago. They need him back. They're counting on a lot of really injury-prone guys. Royce, we just talked about him in Royce Lewis, but you've also got Byron Buxton, who's incredibly talented when he can stay on the field. but he's not a guy that's been proven to be able to stay on the field. You've got Carlos Correa, you've got Jose Miranda, Ryan Jeffers, Will Castro, Ty France in another attempt for him, Edward Julian. These guys, they've got solid everywhere. You look at that rotation, Pablo Lopez, I love him as an ace. Joe Ryan and Bailey Ober behind him. This is a solid team. It's not going to move mountains, but if they can stay healthy, I think this is a Twins team that can take it a lot further than people think. I think they win this division at 87-75. So break down for you real quick. The White Sox 5th, Tigers 4th, Guardians 3rd, Royals 2nd, and the Twins 1st. I'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the AL or NL Central divisions. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention over to the Western divisions. The AL and NL West preview coming up next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.